Hey, welcome everybody. We are at the top of the hour. I'm glad to have you here. I know there's a lot going on in your communities in dealing with COVID-19, so I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to join us today. We've got a good topic for our 2020 webinar series. This is episode 12, and today's topic is about firing up your data visualization. And we're going to talk a little bit about business intelligence, data visualization, and got a couple special guests with me also joining us. So I think we're going to have a really good presentation. But as you guys like to know, I always like to start with, as you guys know, I always like to start with some poll questions just to get a feel who's on today. And I see a lot of familiar names. So shout out to Andrew and my buddy Bo in Little Rock. Yeah, so that's really good to have you guys on today. And let's start off with some poll questions real quick. So first of all, you guys probably know this one from prior attendance. What type of agency do y'all work for? So are you career, volunteer, combo, federal, or DoD? All right, everybody's voting. Fantastic. All right, going to close the poll in 3, 2, 1. And we've got no volunteers today, so half career and half combo. Excellent. All right, here goes another. And you guys, thanks for this. This is really helpful to us because we discussed this both internally with our marketing team and just to see how we're tailoring the types of presentations we're doing. So thank you for this. All right, so this one, I got a pretty good feeling I know the answer to most of these questions, but are you an ER customer? Are you joining us today, maybe for the first time, to learn more about emergency reporting? Okay, everybody's voted, and we got all customers today. Okay, so which means a couple of these slides, we're just gonna book right through and get to the meat and potatoes of today's presentation. So excellent. All right, so we got a couple more, but this we'll hit the others near the end of the presentation, but I am very curious, as is one of our other participants today. So if you're an ER customer, which you all are, have you explored BI Basic yet? Yeah, it's really cool. No, haven't had a chance yet, been so busy. Or wait, what? ER has BI tools now? Oh, you guys are on the ball. That's probably why you're on this presentation. So all of you have explored it yet. So we're looking forward to hearing your questions, and then we're going to seek some feedback from you too with a couple more poll questions later on. But without further ado, let's jump right in. Okay, so what we're going to go over today is right here. Do a quick introduction, our objective for today, and the emergency already background and system features. I'm going to hit those slides really fast. You guys know about that since you're all customers, and then we're going to jump into just kind of a business intelligence for beginners. That's me. You guys that have been on these webinars probably know me, and I've been with emergency reporting since 2011. Used the system since 2004, and I'm currently serving as a business development analyst, subject matter expert, and frequent key account manager for a lot of our key accounts out there, one of which is Little Rock. In fact, I'll be meeting with them later today. And then I'm really happy to have two other people on. My co-presenter today is Kevin Claussen. Kevin, why don't you tell the group a little bit about who you are?
Hey everybody, my name is Kevin Claussen. I am the product owner of the BI team. I spent 10 years in management where I learned to love numbers and data visualization through P&L management. And then after that, I went into 12 years as a regional sales manager where I continued my love of numbers, statistics, and analytics. And then I've been with ER for the last 13 months. And I'm really excited to be here today. Thanks for having me, Tom.
Of course, Kevin. Kevin's a sharp guy and really good. So basically, they snatched him from the sales team and brought him into product ownership with his skills with numbers and business intelligence. And Kevin, so we really know a lot of acronyms in the fire service, and so you've got a couple there. So maybe share with the group what's RSM and PNL, so they understand what those are.
Absolutely, you're right. Regional sales manager. So I managed anywhere between 7 and 13 states, sales channels, doing things like forecasting, sales analysis, you name it, I did it. And then the other thing is P&L, that's profit and loss statements. So everything that you could possibly have on a ledger sheet for any of the businesses I dealt with. Those were things that always fascinated me.
Right on, Kevin. Thank you very much. And then we also have hiding in the background is our lead trainer, Mac McElroy. You guys, if you've been on Virtual Thursdays or have had the privilege of him coming out to your department to do training, you know Mac really well. And so Mac's going to be here to answer questions, and we'll be sure to get a slide in for him on our future presentations because he's going to be kind of my wingman and backup for these moving forward. So we're on episode 12. We're going to have 7 more after these, and if you go to our marketing page, and I can show you that later on, you can register, or they're all up and ready to be open for registration for the next 7. So hope to see you guys on those. All right, so here's our objective for today. How can I understand what business intelligence is all about and why it matters to my agency? Now, we could do multiple semesters on business intelligence and all mining the data, but what we want to get to is defining it today, okay, defining what it is, and showing you what those tools in emergency reporting look like, and then having Kevin as the product owner with us today, he can kind of illuminate the path forward for us to see what the road ahead looks like, because we're very, very excited about this. Many of you have asked, and I'll just put it out there right now because this is almost how you all say it, is we want to mine our data, get our data out when we want it, how we want it, and when we want it. Well, when, how, and in the format that we want to present to our decision makers in our community. And a lot of what we're putting forth will enable you to do much of that. So we'll have some interesting conversation about that later on today. So emergency reporting, this is updated. So we are cranking past 7,000 departments in the system, 36 million incident reports filed, and over 750,000 people in our system. So in other words, that's total personnel, whether or not they have login privileges or not based on their agency's permission. So we're growing. I just noticed that it was updated recently, and we've just over in the past week, we've brought on over about 100 new departments. So the growth is crazy, and we're very, very pleased to be able to serve all of you and continue to improve the product and really just meet your needs for both data management, and then the phrase you'll be hearing a lot more about is business intelligence and data visualization as we move forward. This is a little bit about who we are, our background, and again, if you guys have been with us before, you've seen this slide. We pride ourselves on releasing every 2 weeks, an incredibly reliable uptime percentage. Everything you're going to encounter with us is based in the United States. So when you contact support, you're not dealing anything with overseas. You will be able to fully understand our support team, and they will get back to you promptly. And then, of course, our compliance with many standards, just 3 of them listed there. And then we have enterprise contracts currently. Those are 2 of our biggest customers. And we also have the entire state of Pennsylvania as their NFIRS repository. And so, and then we also have the United States Marine Corps and United States Army. So again, very privileged to serve so much of the fire service community. 16 modules, of which you are all familiar with since you're all our customers. So you guys know all about who we are. And let's get into today's presentation. So I really love this quote because that's where we're at in the fire service. So yeah, in God we trust, all others bring data. So this is from W. Edwards Deming. And if you just do a Google search about him, he was huge in lean management, production, helped the Japanese very much. And then a lot of what that lean manufacturing was brought over into the States after the the Japanese, excuse me, implemented to improve their production quality and quantity. And so he's quite an interesting person. But I thought this was a great quote because everybody loves the firefighters. Everybody loves the fire department. I mean, I was privileged to be part of it for 22 years, and it was an amazing career, how the community responded to us, looked up to us, and truly pillars of the community. But when it came to crunch time, especially post 9/11, a few years after, that you got to justify and verify the things that you want, the manning, the machines, and the materials to take care of your communities. And it's not just enough to say anymore, hey, we need this because we have a 20-year-old truck. Well, how often has it been out of service? How much are you spending on repairs? They want answers to some pretty tough questions, and data is how you answer those questions. So what is business intelligence? So I found this definition from Forrester.com, seemed to make good sense to me, and I'll let Kevin chime in too as he looks at this, but it's a set, and it's a mouthful here, so I'm going to break it down and have just a short conversation with you all, and then bring on Kevin to kind of have his viewpoint of it from his experiences. So it's a set of methodologies, processes, architectures, and technologies that transform raw data. So think all of the database tables you can't see in emergency reporting. You're already getting some of that business intelligence in just what we provide you in the different modules within our system. But underlying all of that is a lot of raw data. And you need to bring it into meaningful and useful information. I think meaningful is the key word there. And then it's going to help you be enabled to make more effective, strategic, tactical, and operational insights and decision making. And so we know from the fire service, strategic and tactical, that makes sense to us. Strategy is, and think fireground, right? It's, okay, what's the end? What is the end of this incident going to look like? What's our end point? How are we going to get that fire put out? And then the tactical aspects of it is, okay, who am I going to assign to different sectors to fight this fire, to keep the crew safe, to rescue individuals? Okay, so in business intelligence, you've got the strategy, big picture stuff, typically long term, okay, but not always. Sometimes it's nearer term, 1 year, and what we're dealing with now, strategy is like 6 months in dealing with response to COVID-19. Tactical, again, those decisions that you're going to make near term, almost immediate, and then operational insights, things you may not have known about your department. Business intelligence can help you see that in those insights that may have been hiding in plain sight and you just never saw it until you looked at the data and the visualization of that data. And then at the end, you want to make good decisions. And not only are you going to make good decisions, whether you are a company officer, heck, even a firefighter, the intelligence that you have with logging into emergency reporting, from your certifications to your training report, right down at that level. And then what you're going to do as a company officer, we got to go and test hydrants, which ones are closest, which ones are out of service. Other decision making, what do we have to train on? What are we short on training hours? And then we move our way up into the organization where your battalion chiefs, your deputy chiefs, they have to make decisions more in this strategic realm. But I thought this definition covered a lot. Despite being a bit of a mouthful, it really kind of nails it. And Kevin, from your experience, what would you like to add here with this definition?
I would say that that's absolutely correct and that you've done a fantastic job of explaining it. I look at it as the thing that you really need to be able to do is drill down into the story that you're trying to tell or the answer that you're trying to get, or sometimes go on a journey looking through data, and not everybody looks at a spreadsheet the same way or a CSV file the same way. So what we're doing is giving you a way to visualize it that really makes sense to everybody, even if they're not used to looking at big data.
Yeah,
And
well
that's really
said.
how you pull the intelligence out of the information, because information is more and more important with every job that exists today. And with more information comes more noise. And essentially, this gives us a way to give you a better signal to noise ratio.
Well said. And then I really like what you said about the visualization and telling your story, because that word meaningful right there, what's meaningful to someone like Kevin who can pour through a spreadsheet like nobody's business versus me, who I'm still that firefighter that likes pictures. And so what's meaningful to your audience? And so what we'll show you here is making something meaningful that your audience, whether it is your community, the citizens coming and asking questions about your department's performance, or your chief wanting to be able to give a report to, say, a fire district board or a city council or town council, it has to be meaningful to them. If you're going to bury them in the weeds with all of the data that people like Kevin can go through and mine and figure out, you're going to lose them, and you're not going to make your case and tell your story. So again, some good conversation here, but a great definition, I thought. Okay, so I'm going to pull up NFPA 950. There's a couple standards that directly cite business intelligence. And there are multiple paragraphs, and I'll be honest, some of those things we're working towards as a company to adhere to that part of the standard. But in NFPA 950, which is the standard for data development and exchange for the fire service, if you're an IT person, if you're dealing with a lot of data, or you're kind of your de facto fire service analyst in your department, even though you're probably wear multiple hats, you might want to look at the standard. So 8.7.4.1, again, that's chapter, paragraph, verse, and subparagraph. Software, analytical software. Software intended for the management of analytical and decision support data shall provide the authority having jurisdiction with a clear and unambiguous visualization or representation of any algorithms, workflows, or analytical models that includes but is not limited to the data included in the analyses, data that are excluded, specific statistical operations, and so forth and so on. But here, going back to the previous definition, software intended for the management of analytical and decision support. That's us, ER. We need to be able to provide the AHJ, that's you, with a clear and unambiguous visualization, which in many cases we do, certainly are what we call our SSRS reports, those reports in the reports module, over 600 of them. That's quite helpful, but we've got to go to the next level. And so what we're going to show you here is that next level. And it's representing all of this stuff, you know, algorithms, workflows, and so forth. So that is direct out of NFPA. Whoops, not yet. Hit it too fast. All right, so this is out of 951, the Guide to Building and Utilizing Digital Information. And I pulled this table out. So just take a look. This is the table on Information Systems Framework for Fire and Emergency Services service organizations. And so you've got four sides of this square. You know, we're used to the fire service triangle, and those of you who have seen my other presentation on data driving the fire service, but humans in the driver's seat, you know about the fire service data triangle. So, but this is a square. And you can see the whole integration of these systems. And you know, you've got your situational awareness on incident management, sure, over here on the left. So we'll call this the Charlie side, right, or the Delta side. Data management, which goes nicely. It's D for Delta and data. And so you've got all of these typically stored within a platform like emergency reporting, but then you're going to use it for planning and analysis. And then of course for field operation, and part of that is that data collection. So it's all intertwined, and it's all digital and digitized information, which that's emergency reporting. We're 100% digital, cloud-based, as you all know. And so putting this all together and integrating it for the good of the organization. But I highly recommend, and you know from my presentations that I like to show where national standards apply to what you're doing day to day and how we can help you with that. And so these two standards, as you peruse them, and thankfully they're not very long standards, but again, I recommend you looking at both of them, 950 and 951, if you have a significant role in data management within your organization, which the fact that you're attending today's presentation tells me you probably do. All right, so here's what we're going to talk about. What ER has been up to, what's coming, any questions and answers, and then we'll wrap this up. So without any further hesitation, let me clear out of this PowerPoint, and we'll jump right into the system. So I've got a couple accounts here. These are scrambled accounts, but I've got permission to share, even if I could share their live data, but I prefer not to, just to protect the innocent, right? So we've got scrambled, this is our pre-production scrambled accounts, and I'm in the city of Peoria. And so what I want to jump into next, and certainly Kevin and Mac, feel free to jump in if you want to add something as I go through this. But basically, in analytics, we're going to go to that module, and we have three. And today we won't talk about response or safety analytics, but this is still business intelligence, both our safety analytics tool and our response analytics for 1710, 1720, and of course this is for 1500. But what we really want to focus on is right here, BI Basic. So right now, all right, there's actually a fourth one, and I'll show you that fourth one in another account for EMS. But right now we have three. These are called, and Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, I think I've got my BI terminology down correctly, but these are going to be called reports, okay? What we have is essentially an embedded version of Microsoft Power BI. And don't let me forget, those of you that want to get into this, there is a book that is actually a Kindle book. So if you have an Amazon account and then any device where you've downloaded the Kindle app, there is a, let's just do it now because I'll forget it if I don't. I want to show you this, okay? And it's actually free by Microsoft. So if you do a search for Power BI, it's this one right here. Costs nothing, okay? And I've downloaded it to my Kindle, and it is actually pretty darn good if you want to learn a little about Microsoft Power BI. It will help you understand more of what we're doing in the system. So let's put that link in the chat for all of you. And I thought it was cool that Microsoft puts it out free. So let's put that out there in the chat. And if you have the time, like we all have, I mean, I'm still plugging through with all my responsibilities. So there it is in the chat. And it is written for the brand new user, okay? And it'll show you, you could even download the web-based version, you could even work in the web-based version of Power BI and take our system reports and import them into the Microsoft Power BI. And so those tools are going to be very familiar right here. So first off, let's go into incident volume. And I'll let Kevin too share some of the backstory on how this was organized, some of the whys behind the structure here. But we've got an account that has quite a few calls. And because I'm on our pre-prod, it loads a little slower than live accounts, so just bear with me here. But as you can see here, I'm going to give you a quick navigation of what this report does. This is called a report. And within each report, there are tiles. They're all interconnected. What that means is, as you change one, do any slicing or click into or drill down into any of the sub components of these tiles, the other ones will change to reflect the parameters or the slicing that you're doing. Over here are some controls. These are the slicers, and I'll get into that in a minute. Details. So that's row by row all of the incidents that are feeding into this report. The pages, so I can toggle between two different pages within this report. And then one of the key things that I know is always mentioned in the previous presentations, Kevin and his team are always good about mentioning this, and I want to make sure I do as well, is if you get lost in your navigation, you just hit reset and everything goes back to the default settings. Basically everything's selected, and then you can go in and clean things up or drill down even more, because you can get into the weeds here and start clicking around and go, man, I didn't want to do that. How do I undo it? And you could always just click reset. So what you're seeing here left to right up at the top, and I like these high level looks, right? So 41,835 incidents in the system going back to 2000 in January of 2018. Okay, it will also let you know which incidents have not been reviewed, so they're on top of it. 771 incidents year to date. Prior year to date, 4,299, and so there's something. Oh, I know what's up here. This is in pre-prod, so it's back a few months. So if we went into their live account, these numbers are going to be a little closer, but it only goes back so far. You can see it drops here in January, so it's not capturing February, March. So that's pretty much just to January for them. Again, we're on a pre-production site, so it's not going to be up to date. It's always a couple months behind, but it will let you know. Change delta in, so if you don't know it already, you can sound smart and say, when you see the triangle here, it's delta. That's a symbol for delta, and delta equals change. So change over prior year to date. Percentage change over prior year to date. Make sense so far? Kevin, anything you want to add?
No, I just want to say that one person we missed earlier was Dave Keeney is here from ER, and he's in the attendee pool, and Dave's actually one of the developers on the BI team that helped put these reports together. So big shout out to
Oh,
Dave. Thanks for making it happen, and thanks for joining the webinar. Excellent explanation though so far, Tom.
Dave, I'm going to promote you. I know you're new and we haven't met yet. So welcome to the emergency reporting family. I'm going to make you the organizer, so your audio will be live and you'll be able to jump in as you see fit. So there you go.
Hi,
You
everyone.
might need, hey, Dave, thanks for joining us. Anything you want to add?
Nope, you're doing great so far.
Awesome. Okay, jump in as needed.
Will do, thanks.
You bet. All right, so looking at the drilling down here, all right, this is your actual, okay, and this is prior year. Now, one of the tools that we're considering is a trend analysis and projections. Kevin, do you know if that's still going to be something that they're going to be add to this particular one to project, based on AI and kind of an prior year analysis where you're trending as far as incidents is going to go? I remember on our demo we've had that. Is that something you guys are still thinking about?
It might be something we're looking at putting in, but right now we don't have any like schedule plans for it. But on any of these things, one thing that I want to stress about BI is it's a constant series of iterations and reiterations. So we want to take our first pass at the data and say, here's what we think is important to you. If there's things that you think are important that aren't on here, let us know what those are. And depending on what they are, we'll see if we can get them into the system if they make sense. Because there's some things that, you know what, we just either haven't built out yet or we haven't thought of. But that's one of the reasons that we love doing these webinars with everybody and talking to our frontline and getting the feedback that you can give us. I do recognize a couple of names on here as far as people that come to some webinars, and also somebody I believe that I've interacted with on Power BI, or I'm sorry, with our BI Basic in the past. And we do have a submit feedback button on these. The only thing that I will say is it doesn't capture who you are unless you leave that in the email. So if you'd like to be contacted back or talk these through or get an explanation why, putting either your name or contact info in there allows me to actually contact you. So help us help you help us. Thank you.
Yeah, please put, and we will reach out to you, guaranteed on this. Now with Kevin at the helm here as the product owner, he wants your feedback. We want your feedback on all of this. Keep in mind to emphasize what Kevin is saying. The iterations are going to evolve. Remember, we release something new, whether it's fixes, enhancements, changes to the system every 2 weeks. That's going to happen here with the business intelligence tools as well. Keep in mind some of the asks that you will have. They can be what we call epic stories, which means they won't necessarily happen as fast as we all might want, but they absolutely will be taken into consideration. There's a lot that goes on in the event that you're ever wondering, well, I put in a feature request and it hasn't taken place yet. So, and there's lots of votes on it. So there's a lot that takes place here, including here in business intelligence, as to how this all plays out. The business case for it, the number of votes, what we call level of effort, how long is it going to take to develop this, and then the associated costs with it. So it's a lot more complicated than I ever knew back in the day. Like, well, how hard can it be? Typically, there's always something more that this touches somewhere else. It affects another part of the system. So software is complex, but just know that we do listen to you, and the things that you put forth, we absolutely consider, even though it may not always happen or may not happen as quickly. Your voice is listened to, and case in point, those of you that have worked with in the recent release of the occupancy module, the updates there, we heard you loud and clear on some things, and as you can see, we rapidly made changes to improve the experience for you. All right, so looking here, again, a lot of this, if you're like me, you like to click buttons and play around in a system. So what I want to show you over here on this particular panel, this tile, is the ability to filter, okay? So I can slice over here, and so let's say I just want to see structure fires, okay? I can click once, and you can see that by clicking once, everything on this page, this report changes. All right, so now all I am seeing are building fires, 111s. I can also click and say, all right, well, station 3 only. Okay, so now this is updated to just show station 3. Now, if I want to see more, this may not be super intuitive, but once you know it, it's easy. Just hold down the control or command button if you're on a Mac, and you can select more than one. So now I'm seeing 3 stations at once. All right, looking at some of these icons up here. All right, this is drill up, this is drill down. Okay, if it's enabled, All right, you have the ability to click and drill down very quickly with this pitchfork icon. Let's see if I've got it over here. Okay, those are sort bys. All right, and so I can also do a focus mode, which takes isolates just that particular part of the report. And then I've got these other features that I can export the raw data. And so a lot of you that are big into data analysis, I can click this, and I'm going to bring in either summarized data, Excel. Okay, so here's what it looks like. It's going to download, and then now I have this. We'll give it a second to open. And so now I can play to my heart's content with the data directly from that particular table. And remember, it is just that tile / table here. I can change the sort, descending or ascending, and then I can either sort by incident group, incident type, or number of incidents. So if I want to see where most of my calls are, okay, breaking it down, we've got it broken down here. And so I have a question for Kevin. On this one, if I did sort by number of incidents, there we go, that's what I wanted. Okay, I just had to change the down to a descending. So clearly it's easy to see at a glance that I have most of my incidents are 300 series, which for most agencies, that's pretty much true. And then you can see how it breaks down further. And so now I can see, and again, remember we get to a point, I want to reset this. All right, I want to see everything, and then I want to go back to my sort, and then this is breaking it all down. So see how I got a little twisted in there, and I wanted to clear up and get to see all my incidents. I just hit reset and I'm back to good. But now I do want to just see station 4. And so it's what we call sticky, so it preserved my desired sort, but now I'm just seeing station 4. And then maybe I just care about 2020. Okay, and so that pitchfork here expand all down one level in the hierarchy. So what it allows you to do is, but you can click on the visualization bar here, and it will allow you to drill down once if there's the drill down capabilities. So now I am seeing that 643 EMS incidents for 2020. And again, that's so far, and probably up to January.
Hey, Tom, we got a question. Do we want to address them as they come up or just do them all at the end?
No, we can address them. I love addressing them as they come up. So yeah, let's do that.
Right on. We had one from, where did he go? I want to say it was Michael
this is
Moore.
from Lieutenant Moore out in Orange County, Florida. So yes, I would like to see all incidents, and it seems right now I can only see reviewed incidents. Okay, so I know Lieutenant Moore, and so probably what he's thinking here is it'll show you incidents that aren't reviewed, but on any of the tables here, or any of the tiles, I should say, within this report, it is only showing reviewed incidents. So the ask would be a slicer to be able to show the different statuses for those different incidents. So incident status that you could include or exclude incomplete calls or completed but not yet reviewed calls. Is that right, Mike? Does that make sense, Kevin?
Yes, it does. So I put an answer into chat, and I wanted to just kind of address this for the group. So we made a conscious decision to go with only reviewed incidents for a number of reasons. One is because when you aggregate large amounts of data, the more potential wildcards you have in those stacks, the more unpredictable results that you get, and the more potential data issues you could have. Oh, he's not even here anymore. So, but the other issue we do understand is that that was kind of misleading or could be not completely apparent to everybody. So we did add the not reviewed metric up at top, which is to kind of indicate if there are outliers out there that need to be reviewed. And the idea is that this is to also kind of mimic what the desired end result is, and that's to have all of your incidents reviewed. And so that this was kind of seen as a way to keep everybody on task for that. And if you look at your department's dashboard and you see that there are, 200 not reviewed incidents, maybe that was a number higher than you were expecting, or maybe it at least gives visibility into why the numbers didn't instantly add up like you were expecting them to. And so
And again,
the other thing, just to address the slicer question, Tom, the problem with doing it that way, and I'm not saying that we can never do it that way, but a reason that we've made the decision not to, at least thus far, is because if we're pulling in all of the incidents from all of the departments that we serve, and that's a quite large data set. And if we pull in all of the the not reviewed incidents, there's a lot more data that we're pushing around back and forth that ultimately is going to be overwritten when the new data comes in and it's actually reviewed, or it's moving a lot of extra data around for really not much benefit other than we can measure it and provide that that data point of what's not reviewed.
a great example of things that are happening in the background that could decrease overall experience or performance based on the data being crunched essentially by adding those different things. And so that's important to note because we want this to perform efficiently for you and to not have delays or waits or frustration. So good explanation there, Kevin. One other thing I wanted to mention to you all is these two reports here, 1784 and 1782, to go along with incomplete. So remember, there's going to be the data visualization and business intelligence tool, but the status, the 2D, what they call 2D reports or our SSRS reports, they're never going to go away. They're just too valuable too, as well. And so you can run either of these two reports to check on the status of incomplete and completed incidents, okay, versus reviewed, and then how long they've been in that status as well. And this came from working with Orange County, Florida. So if you haven't noticed these two relatively new reports to supplement what you're seeing here, they're really great reports. And it allows you to have accountability for getting those reports completed if your agency has an expectation or a standard on when incident reports need to be completed, say by the end of the shift, end of the tour or whatnot. All right, let's take another peek here on one other of the pages that I wanted to share with you, and then we'll get into some of the other reports that you have here. So now we've got visualization on dates and times. And so looking at distribution and concentration, were you running your peak volume? What types of calls during that peak volume? Day of the week, hour of the day, and then of course, if I look at shift one in this case, they've got 13,000 calls. And does that change? Does one shift or another run more calls at different times of the day? And you can see, again, my breakout by EMS, fire, and other, but this is where I get a lot of the value here is time of day. And so if I want to see all the other calls that I'm running, all right, how it breaks down, you can see clicking into each one of those changes every other one and gives you a nice visualization of each. So that's incidents right now, all right? And again, this is BI Basic for our incidents. So let's go back into it. And I want to show you a couple others on occupancy. These just were released on Tuesday, both occupancy and training. And then we have another account that has EMS. So we'll give that a second to load. And then Vanessa has a question. I'm just logging on, but had a question. We have a volunteer department and our volunteers are paid on the stipend. Stipend varies depending on the type of call and if they are EMT certified or not. Can I enter each firefighter with their stipend amount and the program will let me pick the stipend base? Yes, you can. That's going to be kind of a topic for another presentation, Vanessa, but not so much here on today's presentation, but using the payroll module, you absolutely can do all of that based on the, $10 for fire, $10 for EMT, you can do that. And then we've got terrific reports. So I would direct you to our support and then do a search in support for payroll and That's how you would do it. Or you can reach out to me directly and I can help you either later this week or next week. So, all right, so occupancies. All right, so breakdown of the occupancies. All right, again, visualizing it, they have the most occupancies they have by type are residential twos, apartment homes. This is where they're located based on address. And then of course I can drill down substantially here on the map. Now, you'll probably find this quite interesting, and I did anyway. So let's reset real quick. I want to get this. So this is Peoria, Illinois. So it would make sense that I have a substantial cluster in Peoria, but then what in the world is going on here? So what this is telling me is that there's some erroneous data that I can go and clean up. Okay, for some reason, the plotting here, and maybe I just need to go check the lat long because it looks like that address is okay, or maybe the spelling of the street threw off the Bing interface here. But nonetheless, this is really a great opportunity to clean up my data as well. And I'm big on maps and visualization like this, and then the deeper I drill, the more granular this gets, and I can actually isolate a separate individual building and see how many inspections I've had on that given building. Days since the last inspection, so I can see I have 1,508 buildings that have not been inspected in the various types. This is by fire protection category. Okay, so breaking down all my occupancies that have an automatic sprinkler system. Okay, I can see that there. Okay, and then looking at the pages, I can go into inspection counts. All right, and again, we like visualization. It tells a story in a way that not just pouring through a spreadsheet can. And so number of inspections, a cumulative percentage. So looking at, I've done most of my inspections have been the annual type. Next most have been hazardous materials, and then I can click through and see that. These are the inspectors that have done it and the overall inspection results. And again, this was just released on Tuesday, so we're looking forward to getting feedback from all of our prevention personnel out there to see if this is helping meet their needs to see their performance in the prevention side of the house, in the community risk reduction side of the house. Kevin, being that this was just released, anything you or your team want to add about some of the decisions that went into this?
No, just that we're really excited, and it was a fun journey to go on as far as figuring out how all of the data interconnects and how we could present it in what's hopefully a meaningful way. I really like it. I really like getting feedback, and we actually did present this a little bit early and had a department that does a lot of inspections help us with a few data points or things that they would recommend seeing. So anybody that has recommendations, keep them coming, and we'll be happy to look at them and see what we can do.
Outstanding. Okay, let's go to one more here. We can look at training. So this is near and dear to me because I love this module, and being someone who did a lot of training in my department, I can see hours for the people in my department. And I can see, all right, so in December of 2019, here's how many hours we did per person. I can expand and see the training categories. So this is by class category. I gotta make sure of that. It's either class category or training code category. And then of course down here is the training code category for sure. Pass rate, any points if you're using points, they're not. And the average amount of students per class. And we've got certifications. So not only is this supplementing your hours of training, and then you can see that over a given time period, and then of course by training code category and by person, we've got certifications. And so I don't think they're managing their certifications here quite yet, but this will allow you to see when things are when they've been granted and when they expire. So we can go take a look at another account to see how they're doing it, because that other account has some EMS data I wanted to show you. So again, navigating to the Business Intelligence Basic. All right, we're going to go to their training report. I want to see if they're documenting it. Okay, they're not using it yet. So, but basically, it will show you, again, a lot like with the other department, it'll give you all of that data in a very quick visualization. And keep in mind too, you can always isolate these. Ooh, refresh. There we go. And you can always use the ability to export the data, and then you can just show as a table here. And then for right now, because I know this will be a question that comes up, I need to print this, right? So right now you're going to got to do screenshots. So if you're on a Windows machine, the snippet tool will work. I use Snagit for now. But again, if you want to bring these out into annual reports, monthly reports, using it from here, that's the way to do it currently. Okay, going back to the other last thing I wanted to show you is right here on EMS statistics. All right, so percent of procedures by hour of day, and I want to see on our assessments, all right, physical assessment. So again, I sliced down in, I drilled into just that, and then you can see when you're performing that particular procedure, the success rate, and then what day of the week. The other page here are medications, and this is sorted from high to low, so it makes sense. We're administering oxygen quite a bit. When we're doing it, did patient improvement occur? This is a particularly valuable table here to me on whether or not there was improvement with the patient. And this department, I know from working with them, they do a really good job on documenting their PCRs. And so I get to see that and can tell that story just by, okay, we've administered oxygen. Better still, Narcan. All right, did the patient improve? Those are, this is where we get a lot of us in the fire service. We like that instant gratification that comes from responding to emergency calls. There's very few in the business, besides administering Narcan or D50, where you truly save someone's life. I mean, right there, right then. And so look at this. They did 47 administrations of D50 and 100% improvement, which certainly makes sense. Breaking it down on a month-to-month basis. So some really great visualization. Again, the business intelligence here to be able to make some decisions. Maybe we don't administer mag sulfite very much. Maybe we need to do some CEs on mag sulfite or thiamine. Those are pretty infrequent. So right there and then you can see our skills probably aren't as sharp in our knowledge on these particular meds as they are on the ones up at the top, because we're doing it all the time. So right there, I can say, hey, to my pre-hospital coordinator, my ER doc, hey, we need to do a class on mag sulfate, indications, all of that. Okay. I got a couple more survey questions I want to share with you guys, because this is where I know Kevin and his team will be grateful to hear some of your feedback. So let's do this. Okay, so looking at this, and when we talk about dashboards and reports, I kind of am using that term interchangeably, but these are reports, and dashboards can be maybe part of a later release, but think of reports here. So as you see this, what of these three would you like to see most in BI? Which one of these three would be most helpful? CPSI accreditation, ISO, or an AFG grants dashboard? And again, think it through. What would be most helpful to you in your role in the department, or where do you find the greatest pain in managing data for any of these three elements? And again, there's more, we could have added another half a dozen, but I wanted to hit these three to see what you guys think. So if you're multitasking, look up and vote for us, because I've only got about half of you voting so far. All right, keep it open for a few more seconds. So the question is, What dashboard report would you like to see most in our BI tools? Something for helping you with accreditation, helping with ISO, or for AFG grants? All right, closing in 3, 2, 1. Last chance, here we go. Most interesting. Not surprising. The most is for accreditation, and then we've got ISO and AFG, and we think all of them are valuable, but remember, with limited development resources, and again, when I say limited, I compare it to like Google or Facebook, where they have hundreds, if not thousands of developers. We don't, and so we have to prioritize and make that business case to say, okay, what will we do next? What will it take to do it? And do we have the resources? So this is helpful here. And one more. What feature? So thinking about this, and I know this is all relatively new to you, but what feature would you like to see most in Business Intelligence Basic? The ability to print reports, dashboards, the ability to link to your agency's public-facing website, ability to mine all data tables, ability to subscribe to automatically delivered reports. You probably want all of them, but what's the most important to you? Give you a few seconds to think about it. All right, almost everybody's voted. Going to close it in 3, 2, 1. Last chance to vote. I like it. So print, and then the ability to mine all data tables. So we clearly have some data savvy, tech savvy people on the presentation today. Super helpful. All right, so before we close, I want to pass this over to Kevin and his team, and to kind of have him illuminate what's on the roadmap here, and where he and his team are heading with this over the next few months and into 2021. So Kevin, with that, kind of share your vision here.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tom. That was a fantastic overview of what we've done. Thank you for driving and going through that with everybody. Just to give you a little bit of the roadmap of what we're working on. We just got those 2 latest reports out. Our next report that we're currently working on is our maintenance report. That's I don't want to give an ETA on that, but we're working on it and hope to have that finished sooner rather than later. Then the next feature that we're working on at the same time is also going to be the ability to print. I know before you said that we needed to screenshot that, and we've definitely heard feedback that people would like to be able to print all of the underlying data, or at least the visualizations, and so we're working on that now. And then from there, group reporting for things like counties or maybe armed forces, people where multiple departments need to be able to aggregate their data together. And then the next, I guess, section of this would be the things that don't fall in BI Basic. We've talked about BI Basic. This is the initial get it out there and provide value and insight and show people what BI can do for them and what their data looks like with a different lens. Rather than just a report, here's what the data looks like when you visualize it. And we realize that there's going to be some things and some demands that definitely don't fit under the basic umbrella, and that's something that we're figuring out as we build it. We've got some ideas of where it's going to end up, and are definitely collecting feedback for some of the really, really large scale big pictures of what people would like to do, and that will definitely fall under a different category. But again, keep the feedback coming. We'd love to know what all of those things are for you and what the other important things are to have. We hope you like these first 4 reports. We hope you're going to like maintenance and print and group, and we'll keep it coming. You keep the feedback coming.
Right on, Kevin. Thank you. So you guys are hearing it straight from the product owner. And when we use the term product owner, that is our project, essentially our project manager. He directs and leads the team that is working on this part of emergency reporting. So it's always good when they can join us for these presentations. So Kevin, I'm grateful to you and Dave, and I know Mac had to drop off for joining us today. Don't forget what Kevin said here, the send feedback. We really want to hear it. And certainly if you wish a response back, be sure to put in some contact information that the team can reach out if they need to seek clarification or ask you any questions. And speaking of questions, before we close out today's presentation, do any of you have any questions for me, for Kevin, for Dave, and then Dave, as a key part of the team working in business intelligence, is there anything you'd like to add?
I just kind of want to reiterate what everybody else said, and feedback is hugely important, especially to me as a developer. I spend all day, every day with my hands inside this data. Sometimes I get lost and I miss the forest for the trees. So if there's something that's completely missing from this, or you have thoughts on it, that's hugely helpful for me in kind of guiding what I'm building, to get that perspective from you. The only way we can give you what you want is if you tell us what it is. I can't promise I'll hit everything that everybody wants, but if you don't tell me, then I'm not going to be able to do it.
Well said, well said. And the key here, the promise is we will listen. We can't promise that everything that we all want, and I'll put myself into that as well, will get done, but you have our word that we listen to you, and you heard it from both Dave as a developer and then Kevin as a product owner. That feedback button is huge, and guaranteed they're looking at that constantly, so use it. To close out, there are 2 handouts. If you look in your GoToWebinar control panel, there's a main brochure for emergency reporting. Again, feel free to download that and share with anybody in your area that is interested in becoming part of the ER family. And then I did add from North Carolina how the NFIRS guidance, so it's not just for North Carolina, they just happen to put together a really nice document, but it will help all of your agencies with documenting COVID-19 responses, both exposures, and then taking advantage of our custom questions. That's not in that document, it's just NFIRS specific. But again, I want to mention that we do have the ability to allow you to add custom questions, and this is a great time that if you want to collect data that's not being collected in NFIRS or NEMSIS, take advantage of those custom questions to help you track and manage responses during this challenging time. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out the session. Don't forget to grab those handouts. So take a look at that GoToWebinar control panel and grab them, download them. And I just again want to thank Kevin, Dave, and Mac for joining us today, and for all of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to learn a little bit more about our business intelligence and then our business intelligence tools that are coming. And one thing I want to mention, take a look here. So we purposely did this. If you look at our upcoming webinars that take us through the whole 20 for 2020 here, under resources, webinars, educational webinars. Okay, we've got the remaining 8. So this is today's. By all means, if a topic looks interesting to you, please register. But you'll notice we're going to do this again on May 21st, and by then there's going to be more things, more releases within our business intelligence basic. And so we want to do this again to launch, the summertime and give you an update on what's gone on with our business intelligence tools. So I'll send you the link in the chat. Please register for these. We love to have your participation. And if there are no questions, we'll go ahead and close out today's session. Thank you, everybody. Let me see if we got any questions that popped up. Bo, you're very welcome. On behalf of the team, thank you for joining us. So thanks for those kind words.
Thanks, Bo.
All right, seeing no other questions, everyone stay safe. Have a good rest of the week and upcoming weekend. We'll catch you soon.